another exciting episode of the Rooted Connections podcast.
Welcome.
My name is Uju.
Girl Pam.
Hey.
Hi.
Right, so how are you? I know I always ask this question.
I know, right? No, but it's a good question because there's a difference between how are you and how are you.
Yeah. We have to check in.
So I think it's how are you?
Yeah. How are you?
How are you?
So what's up?
How are you really? I'm okay. I'm fine. I think this week has been a little bit gentle on me.
Gentle. I like that.
Yeah.
I like
Been
that.
a bit gentle. I was in bed all day yesterday.
Ooh, check you out.
Not done that in a long time.
Check you out.
Literally. I
The
worked.
luxury.
I worked in my bedroom. I had my laptop. I did all my meetings in bed.
No camera. Nothing.
Well, because it's Teams. People at work might hear me. But I was productive.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
in bed.
yeah.
I was
Whatever
in bed.
makes you
But
comfortable.
no, you have Teams now. You can blur the background.
Yeah.
So I had my camera on for some of my meetings.
If I try it, I will sleep. If I try it, I will sleep.
I was sat up. I
can't try. I can't
rest.
I can't.
But it was. I'd had a really crazy week. So yesterday, I just made sure I didn't have anything to do apart from just meetings and admin. So that was me yesterday. So that was nice. I didn't actually leave my bedroom. I think I only did for a bit to get something to eat, and that was it.
I love it.
Very proud of myself.
I love it. I love it. We need to do more of that.
And on top of that, this month was a bit of self-care as well. I had 2 spa treatments.
Two. I want to be like you.
Yeah.
I really want to be like you. 2.
They rubbed my body.
Yeah.
Very nice. Deep tissue.
Is that deep tissue not painful?
I think it's painful at first, but you feel
relaxed
better
after
for it
it.
later. Yeah.
Because I think I've had it once and it was like they were beating me.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, at least during the massage. I suppose afterwards, they are trying to loosen all the
kind of
knots.
feel, and then I think when they're doing, they'll ask you. They can feel where the tension is. So
is it that my back had too
you
much
have
tension?
a lot of tension. I need to speak to my brother about loosening up some of those tensions.
Maybe that's what happened.
Yeah.
I felt like they were beating me.
Yeah.
The tension was too much.
Yeah.
And it's true. Because, I went for one and the lady told me that I need to be coming every month.
Can you imagine?
So it's like...
That's what I mean. So it's important. If I had the
like
money,
there was a lot of
I'll
tension.
literally do it every month if I could.
Okay. I'll take notes.
It's very important.
I'll forward my invoice.
You know where to send it to.
Yeah. I'll forward the invoice.
Whether it will be accepted or not.
At least a girl can try.
Declined.
A girl can only try. My monthly spa treatment. I'll forward the invoice.
You deserve it.
Abi?
You deserve it.
Abi, he's able. He'll sort me out.
You can do it. Don't worry.
He'll sort me out. What the Lord can do.
You know what to do.
Exist.
It doesn't exist. But you know what to do now. You know what to do.
Is this a family podcast?
I didn't say anything that was not a family. I wasn't family
It's
friendly.
a family podcast.
By the way,
This is
if
a
your
family
dirty mind that is
podcast.
going to places it should not go to.
That's you. That's for you. I'm sure just remind you. Keep it.
All
PG.
I'm saying is that you have what it takes. I didn't say anything past that. But anyway, moving on.
Moving on. Right. So, for our intro, I've got a question for you.
Oh, okay.
So my question today, I say it for you, I'll also answer it as well, is what did you find most difficult about becoming a parent?
I think for me, it was implementing what I already had in my head as an ideal parent. As in, before you become a parent, you already know what you want to, the kind of parent you want to be.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I already had an idea of my bottom lines, things I would never accept from my children, and I was one of those people that low-key used to judge other parents that,
how can you be taking such nonsense?
why would you do that? Why would you allow such behavior? But I think when reality hits you and you have your children, don't get me wrong, I think to some degree I have been able to keep some of those, but I've also had to make allowances for certain things because it's not always ideal. And I think that every child is different. And so as much as you would have your red lines, you should also make room for adjustments for the needs of your child as well.
Plus
And that's
personal
been hard.
growth as well, because you grow in yourself, and the ideals that you had 5 years ago,
Yeah, as you get
because
older.
you've grown and you
Yeah.
have a different perspective, those
Yeah.
things will change. So if you're too rigid, you're not giving yourself the room to expand and grow
And
to
you're
the
not helping your
capacity.
relationship with your child either.
100%.
I think for an example would be like how you I think for many of us we already had this I don't want to be like my parents. I don't want to parent my children how I was parented.
Oh.
That was that was a biggie for me, right? Um because this lack of communication and you being told to do things without an explanation, things like that, they really used to get to me. And of course, the biggest, I didn't want to be that parent that will literally use bash my child for,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that was
Physical
definitely physical chastisement.
chastisement.
Yeah,
That
but
big grammar that you
I
people like to use.
remember there have been moments in my parenting where I have felt like in the moment hitting that child is needed, but
You have to
again,
control
you
yourself.
control yourself because you're the one, what doing that, the impact it would have on that, because but that was how you don't realize how these things form you, because that's you grew up in that environment and that was a norm. So breaking those habits.
So you're almost fighting instinct.
Exactly. So your instinct is just how,
Backhand.
because I know how many times, like especially my older one, she has such a sharp mouth. She just come and say something like,
Only to
who
give
are you
that
talking
factory
to?
reset.
Who are you talking to? But you
But
know
I
that
get you.
hitting that child in the moment is not the answer to. So you have to really breathe, take a step back. But it's not easy.
It's not.
It's not easy.
It's not. Um, I totally agree with what you're saying. To be honest, I think even that you don't really know. I think parenting is one of those things that you don't really know the kind of parent you would be until you actually get there. Because at thinking of how you want to be as a parent, you also don't account for the personality of your
Oh
child.
yeah. Oh, 100%.
You get what I'm saying? So when you're met with a
A
personality that
strong personality.
is not, even if it's not that strong, but is not aligned to your style of parenting. Do you get what I mean? Is that, or when you then, or worst one is where you have two that are very different. When you feel like you've cracked it, then the second child comes to test test your parenting
Let's not
style,
even go
because
there.
that one comes with, it's a whole new
Ah,
ball game.
everybody knows my madam. In fact, let's not even go there. So, as you know, to me was an easy baby. My first, she was an easy baby, and I think that really gave
It's a
me
setup. It's a setup.
ah.
That is a setup.
She was such a sweet baby.
It's a setup.
I did not.
Say.
Honestly, I did not have struggles. You know how you say, when you have your baby, I had no, like me and her, we almost went, even our sleeping routines, she didn't stress me. And then I had Tony. My God. The reality check. Even till now. That is one person that does not care about consequence. If she has something on her mind, she will say it.
With her full chest.
She will say it and she doesn't care.
It
She
needs to be.
doesn't
She
care.
needs to get
She
it
will
off her
face.
chest.
Yeah, she will face it all. But as long as it's almost like you are killing her. Are you? You can't. She has to get it out. Even with her dad, who is this. No, Tony does not care who you are. She will say it.
It's crazy, Sha, because that's the. I think that sometimes is the. You know that I know what the consequence is, and I will look in your face and do it regardless.
Yeah.
Because it kind of shocks you in terms of you have to take a step back, like, what do I do next? Because if you're doing it, at least when that fear is still there, you're the one in control of the situation a little bit. But when the child is like, I know this thing is testing and I will do it regardless, it knocks you off a little, because you're not like, how do I gain control of this
Of
situation
this
again?
situation. And it's taking time. It's taking a lot of time for me. I think we're good now in terms of me understanding her and her understanding my values. So I think we're in a good place now. But it took a very long time. And the joke of it is, of the two of them, she's the one who is extremely loving, caring, emotional. She's the one who cannot go to bed without getting a hug. She's the one who cannot go to bed. She can't take knowing that she has offended you. She can't take it. But even in that, if it means a lot to her, she will get it off her chest. But I think now is the landing that she's mindful of. So
Yeah.
now she's growing into that. Can I please just say what I want to say, mommy? And I'll let her. And we have the conversation and we're okay. But previously, when she was much younger, in
Just
fact, I think
anyhow.
I've shown you some videos. She doesn't care.
I think that if there was one video where she was still a toddler because her words were not even forming properly and she was telling you off for something.
It was her dad.
Oh, was her dad
It was her dad.
pointing finger and really give, and you can't even hear what she's saying, but it's hilarious, honestly.
Yeah. Do you remember when we went to the Derby home? And I think it was a shocker for all of us then when she was like, I just need a minute.
I need a minute. I just need a minute. This noise is too much. I need a minute, please.
Oh, that was too funny.
I know, but parenting is interesting, honestly.
So it really is.
I think I suppose for me, one of the difficulties with parenting, it sounds bad, but it's the fact that you can't turn it off.
Oh yes.
That's the one aspect of your life that you cannot turn off. No matter how
Can't take a break.
overwhelmed you are,
You can't take a break.
you can't turn it off.
You can't take a break from it. Yeah.
I think that's one of the hard bits about it for me. Because even though you are not physically there with the child, you might even be on holiday or whatever.
Yeah.
You cannot turn off being a parent.
Yes. And I think that brings us nicely into our topic today,
Indeed.
which is
Today we're talking about, should I call it community parenting? So basically, how it takes a village
yes.
to raise a child or to raise children. And we're contrasting sort of how we were growing up and what that village looked like and living in a society like the UK now. And I think it's also changed in Nigeria
I
as
think
well.
It has as well, yeah.
Where that community is not what it was. So does it still take a village?
I would say that we have lost quite a bit of that. I don't think that the community parenting that we experienced growing up, our children have it.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. But I think to some degree, it's just mainly within your circle of friends.
You have to actively create that community.
Yes,
You have to
yourself.
make the effort to create that community.
And even in that, there's a lot of fear
Yeah.
because of issues that we are now aware of. Things that weren't shared when we were growing up, things that we experienced that we couldn't speak to our parents about. And now, as adults, now we're now openly talking about them. The level of abuse that happened in all of those, our parents being comfortable, allowing us to do certain things, not really checking in because they felt, maybe you're in this person's house or you're in that person's house or these cousins have come to visit you. So all of those things, it was part of the community parenting that we experienced. And to a large degree, I would say that I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed
That's
it.
communal living, so
Yeah.
to speak. It's a bit of an, I think when we were growing up as well, I think society generally in Nigeria had a certain, should I call it moral standard, right? In the sense that I cannot go out and do certain things. A random mama will stop you and tell you off, and she will feel well within her rights to do it. If I don't know, I insulted an elderly person, for example, nobody will condone it.
And you would actually have you would have experienced, the thing is, the punishment is on different levels.
Oh, of course.
So you'd have chopped slap.
They would treat your mess up on the streets.
You would have been, that would have been something, and you think, oh, that's the end of it. But somehow the gist has gone to your parents.
Of course.
So you get home and still chop another one again.
A for the offense, B for the embarrassment.
Exactly, because you're literally, you're a representative of that home.
Yeah.
So your parents, and it's almost like a competition.
Of course.
Your parents expect a certain standard of behavior when you're out there because you're representing them. So if you fall short of that, you're in trouble.
100%. 100%. In fact, even when you go to school and your teacher reports you, so you have entered trouble in school, then it's not even the thing that you did, it's the fact that your teacher had to report you,
Oh yeah.
that you had to mess up to that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when later I've called your dad
Ha.
or I've called your mom, it's
You
like
know, even the baddest of bads
ah,
back then,
ah.
your badness ends in school gate.
No,
Oh.
that's where you know people that are really bad. When their parents come. You had some people that were mad. No, but everybody was humble.
Of course.
Humble.
See when that parental aspect comes in. I've called your father, I've called your mother. Ha. Okay, I'm
But some
sorry.
of our parents were too harsh. I'm sorry. I remember this was secondary school. This girl, just parents visiting day. Oh, they now say bring your notebook. That kind of thing. Let them look at their notes, and then they now ask somebody else to bring their own notes so they can compare.
Why?
That kind of. My own is
When
what.
there is a time to bond with your child that you
This one
haven't
was
seen now.
checking what's going on.
Oh my god.
And then, unfortunately for this girl, her own was now not complete. Slap.
Are you serious?
Slap. And you're just thinking, come on now, in front of other people. Our parents were gangster.
Yeah.
Our parents were gangster.
That brings back some very traumatic memories for me.
And they didn't care about that treating your mess up publicly.
Publicly. Oh no.
Your emotional well-being was not really a priority. But you see that we sent you to school. That's your academics. And I think it was well-meaning.
It was, and I
It
think
was well-meaning.
and I think that's why I keep coming back to, now that we're older, we understand. Because why I said that was traumatic for me is because something similar happened to me where my first GSS1, which is year 7, I think it will be here. My first year in boarding house, I was so excited, very excited to go home.
To go home.
To go home, because obviously being, you know how it is now, boarding house, you'd have experienced some level in fact. So that this was the end. I think this was my first holiday going home, and as part of when we gather our things together and we keep them in like certain places. But for some reason, okay, so my primary school wasn't too far from my secondary school.
Okay.
So I met up with a couple of people that were walking back to the primary school. And because I didn't necessarily know what time my mom was picking me up, me too, I just followed the crowd.
Went to the primary
I left my things. I left all my load. Yeah. I walked with them to the primary school and went to play. Then I walked back.
I can already see it.
Walked back to school.
And your mom was
waiting. My mom was already there. So she was already annoyed that she got there and I was but at that point her annoyance was not like high level yet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, go and bring your things now. After she had shouted at me for not being, where have you been? Da, 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 da. Okay, my sister, everything gone.
They have moved everything.
Everything gone.
The whole
just my suitcase, my iron, my kettle, everything gone. Right there and then.
Slap.
Eh?
Treated your mess up. But the thing is, even when she's doing that, the way we grew up, nobody's gonna stop her and say,
No.
"Mommy, please stop," or
Yeah,
whatever.
no.
You're even praying that nobody should even come and add mouth, because if they
will
add mouth
increase.
to make it worse for you, so you're kind of like everybody just stay blessed.
Yeah. So no, but that was a very core memory for me.
Try.
Very core memory. But it's the fear, the anger, and all of that combined.
But now,
Oh no.
do you understand the motivation for that slap?
No, I get it. Because she would have to go back and buy all of these things again.
And I think we didn't always have an appreciation for how hard things were for them in some things.
Yeah.
Because to buy all those things may have been such a stretch.
Yeah.
To provide you with those things.
But it's the same with our children now.
Of course. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now that you're here, do you
I get
actually
it.
now get
Oh, no,
what
I get it.
Get
I won't hit my child for that. But I get it.
Why are you laughing now? Eh?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. No, but as I said, I get it because it was a very different time, and it's partly what we're talking about. It was a very different time, and all of that. I don't think that if things were different, she would do it now. But anyway, that's a story for another time. But yeah, I can relate to the point you were making. Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of community, how we grew up as in a communal sense, did you have people living in your house?
Yeah. So my mom is this person who is very welcoming, right? So I even up until when I left Nigeria, and even after, our home is one of those places where people come in and out all the time. We had cousins because I'm from Delta State, Warri. We had cousins who would come and spend like the long vacation with us, summer breaks with us for a long time. So yeah, we had that. We had that. I had aunties who lived with us, uncles that lived with us for a significant period of time. So we never really, I would never say I really experienced that sort of nuclear family setup.
Just your
Just
immediate
me
family.
and my brothers and my mom, my dad. No, it was
Yes.
there was always somebody in the house for as long as I can remember.
And I think it was useful for so many things because even I myself, I don't really recall a time where it was just us, ever just the nuclear family. There was always somebody. But it meant that, like now, things that you're struggling with, like childcare, is an issue. So for them, that was never really, something. There was always, somebody in the house that they could, or they felt they could trust, or someone they could call
Yeah.
like, oh, I need to do this, can you come and, watch the children or what have you. So we always had that. And I don't know, should I say, and then for them, then when one person in the family has done well,
Right.
it's kind of like everybody has done well. You get what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it was a communal thing. I think it still happens for some people now, but I don't think it's quite to that same extent, and is not as genuine. I find that a lot of people have one person is successful, you then have leeches in your family.
I think it's always
Sometimes
been there.
it says, but I don't think it's as intense as it is now.
I think because we
That
were
there's
children, our
no,
parents shielded us from that.
I suppose so,
I
sha.
think
But now I don't know. It seems so magnified now.
because we're adults, you would not expose your children to the knowledge of those things. The aunties or
Was
the uncles
that just leeches?
that yeah. Of
It's true,
course,
sha.
with these children, they have sense more than we did growing up. But you know
We
what I
need to be
mean.
slow.
But yeah,
In
but
all
you
in
know,
all honesty,
I would say my dad was very good at that.
a
Now as
shielding
an
you.
adult, yeah, shielded us from the knowledge of people that only would associate because maybe there was
They
something
want
for them to
something.
gain.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But now growing up and looking back, I can see that. Hence why I'm not necessarily close with my paternal side of my family as much as I would love to be.
Fair enough. I get that. But I don't know. I just feel like it was a little bit more genuine then. Maybe
And yeah, well, it did what it did for the time because with things like childcare, there was not
it's
how
never
we
really an
struggle
issue.
now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And back to the point I was making, our circles are much smaller than how we grew up
100%.
because because of what we know now and things that we now know happened
To
to
people, yeah. Even
people.
if it doesn't happen, even if it never happened to you
Not you
directly,
directly, yeah, but knowing the stories that have come out and you're like, oh, really? Because, those things were never publicly spoken about. People don't really talk about things like that. But now, you know, people are being more open about their experiences and what they went through.
but you also think the world is a bit more depraved now.
In what sense?
Are people, what people are comfortable doing? That is,
I think there's a fair culture.
but I'm just saying that. Do you think more people now? It could just be an exposure thing in the sense that it just wasn't spoken about. But I almost feel like there are more people who are less moral, let's put it that way.
Oh, I see your point.
Or there's more people who are comfortable doing things that you would deem wrong, or things that you would not want your children exposed to.
Um, Yes, because a lot of the time now our values are very different.
Yes, what I mean. So I think are there more
It's very
people?
different, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think that with more and more, the things that are sort of morally accepted are does not always align with your values. Whereas when we were growing up, we had,
The general view
yeah,
was a lot more aligned.
yeah,
So you didn't have to necessarily create your own community
mm,
or curate it. Let me not even what you create, but curate your own community.
yes,
Because now you have to be very specific on who you are letting into your
into your inner
inner
circle.
space, particularly with your kids,
Yeah,
because on the outside some people are very responsible, but
yeah. When you
when
actually, yeah, I get that. And even just as a side joke, I had so when when growing up, right, we had this community of, I grew up on on an estate where most of the people on our clothes, for example, using just the clothes, for example, we all the children will all come out. I think I've shared this before, and we'll all play. You know, most parents have gone to work, and if anything, maybe there'll be one or two that are at home. So if we'll always know the
where to go.
which house has a parent. So if anything happens, who to go to. But generally, we never really needed anything, and we could go into anybody's house, eat, and come back. But then I shared also that my I had cousins that lived in Worry that would come and stay with us, and I remember a very very vivid memory, and I find it funny now, but in actual inappropriate conversations. And just as a joke, one of them said to me one time, I don't know how we're having this conversation about sex, but it came up that she was asking if I was still a virgin.
How old
And
were you?
I think I was about 14. I was in SS1.
Oh dear.
I think it was SS1 into SS2, so the long break there. And she asked me that, oh, are you still a virgin? I wish I could say it in the worry this thing, which, say, you still be virgin? I
I
was
was
like,
saying,
where is this?
how?
Like, how did you have
She was
it?
surprised.
And I'm like, from her even asking me the question, I felt like, how is this even a question? Like, I'm 14. What am I doing not being a virgin? Like, it's not even, what are you
Well,
on about,
for her, she had
And
a
then
different
she
reality.
looked at me and said, Then they shop
Oh
So
wow.
so
Wow.
when
Why
she
are you
said that,
holding on to
like,
it?
what is it that you are holding on to? And I was like,
Wow.
I remember, as much as I didn't talk to my mom. That was one time I actually spoke to my mom. I
Oh,
told
that's
my mom
good.
about it, and because it really bothered me, because I'm like, if I hang around this auntie for too long, so
So
anytime we go to work, but now thinking about it, I think in terms of their own community and how they grew up in Worry, maybe that was how
that was the
those
norm.
things were normal, so it wasn't like a big deal to them. So not necessarily like I'm judging, but sometimes you are a product of the society or the community you find yourself in at the time.
100%. So I suppose it's those things that have maybe even, I think even with our parents, whilst we think we had community living, I think even they had started to trim down the community.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
You get what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then so we have even trimmed it down even further. But on the flip side, though, I think now trying to do parenting in isolation of other people is making it unnecessarily hard. Because at the end of the day, I know the value that I've found in speaking to you, for example, because your girls are older than mine and say, oh, this thing happened, I don't know what to do. Or have you experienced this before? And you're like, oh, small thing.
Yeah,
This is how,
yeah,
even from right when from babies, no, use this cream instead of this cream. Use that. So you need people.
yeah.
But being in the UK, a lot of people find themselves alone, not even necessarily by
Very
design.
isolated. Very isolated.
So how do you even
Build your community.
build the right community?
Yeah. And that's a very good question. I think that's, I think it comes with, I think you have to, like you said, you have to curate your own. You have to find people that, because they're out there, you just need to find them. So, people that share similar values to you. And unfortunately, it's one of those things that you really you have to have that conviction You have to
Yeah.
have, there's a discernment, I think, that you need to have, because you can't just let anyone in.
And I think that's the trouble then. You now find some people, which I've encountered a lot of people who are, will I call it unduly guarded?
But there's a reason.
I know, I'm not saying it's not, they've been burnt, I
Yes.
would say. I think I'm not judging the situation. I'm just saying that, like, you find some people who are unnecessarily guarded, and you're like,
Yeah.
you need to chill a little bit because
Loosen
not
up.
everybody has negative intentions
Yeah.
towards you.
Yeah.
But I've come to realize is for a lot of people is because they've been burnt or
It's
they
trauma.
don't like. I don't like what I hate.
Yeah.
You've seen it from far and you're like, I will not be able to handle it if this thing comes close to me, so I will keep it
I'm better
small.
off just keeping it as at bay. But it's hard. It's hard, especially in a society like this where, you know, number one, you might not necessarily have people that are okay. Let's use the example of people that are jackmying, for example. Living, and for context, people who are migrating from Nigeria, for example, and coming here. It might take a while for you to find your village. You might find yourself going to a place that is predominantly white British.
But you say that, but I think that's part of the fundamental mistakes that we've made, which is where we also think our tribe has to have to look like you.
Yes.
You,
Yeah.
you understand what
Yeah.
I mean? um just for the practicalities of it, I don't think I could have gotten through the last few years without certain people. Like the lady that was my childminder, she's white Caucasian. I would have struggled if not for that lady. Her flexibility with me was amazing. Like, she used to pick my children from my front door.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? In the
Yeah.
morning,
Yeah.
she used to, and she didn't have to because and it was her idea. She's like, I walk past your house anyway to go to school.
So I
So what's
can
the
get
point?
them.
You bring them to me, then we're gonna
I'll
walk
walk past.
past.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'll bring them to you, no problem. So she was so flexible with me. So clearly, yet I'm not necessarily best friends with her, but she was part of my tribe.
Yeah. And I think it is the context of what is your, or not what, but who is in your village and what role are they playing.
Yeah. And honestly, that woman looked after my children like they were her own. Like, she will fight. So she has fought somebody on Facebook because of my child before. Honestly, so she took them to heart.
Yeah.
If I'm even going, if my neighbor, the lady she's white British. Her husband is from the Philippines. I will not have. In fact, we do child school runs together. I do some days, they do some days. So they are an integral part of my tribe now.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? And so
That's
it
it.
doesn't have to always, and that's the mistake we make.
So you can have, and I think that's a very fundamental point, because you can have your inner tribe, your inner tribe, but at the same time, like you and I cannot have that, even though I want to think I'm in your inner tribe, but I live so far
It,
away from you.
it's yeah, of course. I
Do you
can
know what
come
I
and
mean?
I've
So
done it
yeah, so
before.
your kids can come for the weekend if you and your, I'm not offering, by the way. If you and your husband decide you want to do romantic getaway, but
Right?
just for
Sky scanner. Let me find the next
if
flight.
you want to do some, but yeah, do you know, and the
I get what
same
you're saying.
vice versa, and we've done that many times.
Yeah,
But in terms of the day-to-day practicality of childcare, I can't really step into that role for you, and
100%.
vice versa, because of just how far away we live from each other.
100%. So it's just, I think that's a fundamental mistake, and I would encourage people to look beyond the familiar,
Yeah.
for trusted people, to embrace into your tribe.
But
Otherwise, you struggle.
but naturally though, I don't think we're trusting.
No.
We're trusting people.
But again, I think it's people have been burnt.
Yeah.
And that's number one. And two is making that connection. Sometimes it's
Yes.
difficult. Like with my neighbors, right? The connection came from the children. If the children were not as friendly with
With
each
each
other,
other.
it could very well be that we would just remain hi, hello.
And that's it.
If something happens, we'll mix or whatever. But the real the bond was in the closeness of our girls.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for many people that's how it starts. But it's also about being open to accepting other people within the context of what you want them and who you want them to be.
That's true, Sha. That's true. This one, the bond, the children, that's they
Your
invited
children will
themselves.
literally force you. You almost do not have a choice.
I said my
This is my
children
best friend.
invited themselves to dinner in my neighbor's house.
And how many times has your daughter come back and say, "Mommy, I've had dinner."
The first day I wanted to enter the ground, I'm like, what?
What they think you're not feeding
Do you
her?
understand? But now it's like it's normal that
yeah.
she even prepares the dinner in advance.
Oh,
That we have an extra mouth to feed.
yeah, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful that you can have that, and you make it work for you how you want it to be.
Of course.
As much as I always say that in life, balance is important.
100%.
As much as yes, it sometimes what is life without risk? I'm not saying that open up your children to undue influence or unnecessary safeguarding issues, but at the same time, they just need to experience life. I remember the first time to me asked me to go out with her friends to town.
Well, by themselves?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I have that liver yet, so.
So, but it was with another close friend of hers who her mom.
Oh, there was a parent with them.
No. So the two of us, the two parents, because the two of them had spoken that they wanted to do this, right? And that they wanted to go and get school supplies. So me and the other mom had a conversation and we said, okay, what we'll do is that we'll stay in town, right? And just leave them to go because they had phones as well. So we could communicate with them and yeah, they were fine. She was 13. They were fine, but it was such a scary thing. And she's done it now like 3-4 times, and it's not been the end of the world. You just have to allow, you have to let them go. They go on school trips now. Are you there?
No. In contrast, actually, at 13, we're jumping bosu.
Yeah.
I think so. But it's
They're too
just,
shielded.
yeah, but again, this world, people are moving mad.
I get that. I totally understand that, but that's what I'm talking about, balance. How do you build your tribe if you have to keep shielding?
If you're guarded all the time. And I
That's
suppose
why the helicopter parenting.
helicopter, I've not heard that term before.
The first time I heard them, mommy,
What's helicopter parenting? You're hovering over
always
them.
hovering around them.
I see. I'm a helicopter if it's that one. With my full chest.
told.
With my full
I've
chest.
been told.
Oh, are you serious? I've never heard that term.
It was the first time I heard it was from my daughter. She was like, "Mommy, it's just," because she asked me to. I can't remember what it was that she was asking me to. I was like, "Hell to the no, no, you're not doing that." She's like,
Wow.
"It's such a." And she rolled. I said, "Come back here. What are you talking to? What does that mean?"
Wow.
But yeah, there has to be give and take. But you can't be one way too left or on the other. You have to find what works.
But
And
what,
also knowing your child as well, I think.
well, that's true. But what would you say if for people who have been really, really burnt?
I get it.
Because I think some people have, gone to places where they feel like we can trust everyone's motives here, like a church, for example. And you feel like I can be free, I can open up. And a lot of people, as it's coming out now, a lot of people were abused in church.
Yeah.
A lot of people, even right now, have been
Abused
taking,
in their own homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Like
some,
trusted adults.
yeah, or even just taken advantage of, in the sense of, even if it's not your children that have been taken advantage of, but a lot of people have been deceived by people in church, or so people like that are now so guarded.
I get
How
it.
do you go over that hump then to build this your curated tribe?
I think it depends on what has burnt you. And I think for some people they just make their peace with the fact that maybe they just have one or two and they're okay with it. And they are the ones that have the boundaries of how they want to navigate those relationships. And I totally get it.
That tribe, I suppose your tribe doesn't even need to be as wide, isn't it?
No.
But yeah, I know people who
The reality is though, you can't be completely isolated. It can't work.
you can't. Yeah, it wouldn't work. This life is not meant to. You're not meant to live life as an island.
You can't. especially in this, it's just it's near impossible. It's near impossible. Even if it's emotional support, you might not necessarily have people who are physically there for you because sometimes it's not practical. But for that emotional support and maybe the occasional help, you have to have one or two people in your tribe. I think it's so important.
100%. But yeah, as we said, I think maybe the whole the key here is to try and maybe perhaps look beyond what is the obvious places,
Yeah.
and see who you can make connections with on a on a genuine
On a
level.
genuine level. Yeah.
And that discernment that you've mentioned, I think is the key, isn't it? Who you can trust.
No, because there's some people that you just have this peace around.
Yeah.
You just have this peace. You don't have to think, you don't have to stress, when your children are with them or when the children are around them or when they do certain things, maybe when you say, for example, I'll tell Auntie Drew, that I'll tell her, or I'll tell, in fact, the one that Sumi cannot hear, I'll tell her Kunana. They don't like that. And I think it's good because sometimes even your voice as a parent just becomes the only voice they hear, and then it becomes it's what you call see finish. They just like, okay, please, what's new? But just having that other person that every now and again when it gets too much for you, oh yeah,
Gang. Plus, as well, I think is also trusting the motive of that person.
oh yeah, that's what I mean by having that
Because
peace, isn't it? Yeah.
because if, for example, Kenna comes and tells me Auntie Pam told me off, I'm not immediately thinking, how dare she? My mind is, what did you do? Because I know you're not telling her for the
Just for
sake
the sake
of
of it.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
If she even comes to tell me that you smacked her, I will tell her, "Doing good for you. What did you do?"
Yeah.
That's the fair. Just though I know you've never smacked her or anything, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
that because I trust your motive,
Yeah.
and that sometimes is where people haven't been able to build that community.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it in church before, actually, where a child actually was naughty, got told off by the children's teacher, and the parent came to fight the person.
That's been me.
You've been in that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
position.
That's
You've
been
been
me.
there,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
And
Yeah.
it's not just you.
It's not.
The example I was
Example.
thinking
Yeah.
about was somebody else.
Yeah.
So how does that child is not learning anything about that community, about it? Because if I'm coming to fight you when my child has been naughty,
Yeah.
what am I teaching that child?
Yeah.
That you can just do anyhow and nobody can tell you anything. Anyway,
It's really sad. But like I said, I think the whole purpose behind this topic is just the importance of it.
of the tribe, yeah.
It's really important, and we may never have it how we had it when we were growing up. But I think for me, I'm happy with my tribe. My tribe. And
Your
it
small
works.
tribe.
Yeah, it's a small tribe, but it works for me. It works for me. And I think having those genuine connections, people that value you. And that's not something that many people can boast of. People who value you and value what you stand for.
100%.
And you know that wherever you are, if you hear that somebody has, people that defend you behind your back,
Yep. Yep.
defend your children.
That's true. That's true.
It's so important. And although we don't always, we've lost some of that, but I think, for us that we're still trying to retain it, it's so important. It's really important to me.
100%. And I think this is I think it's the right point to thank our tribe,
Yeah.
because this podcast will not even have kicked off without our tribe.
Yep.
So shout out to our production crew. You
Thank
know
you.
yourselves, because if these guys were to charge us money for their services,
We can't pay.
we can't pay
I don't have money.
at the time and the effort. So we just like to say a very big thank you.
Yeah.
We love you guys.
Without them, we wouldn't be here. Morally, emotionally, mentally, physically,
As in,
the whole
The telling off has not been the
You
easiest,
even think they're the ones that are doing the actual podcast, but
but we deserved it, to be
yeah,
honest, on some
because
occasions.
it's come from a good place.
Exactly.
So thank you guys. Thank you so much.
He's waving. But honestly, on the real, we thank you. And thank you guys for hanging with us.
We have been honestly overwhelmed with all the love and support that we've had, and we hope that we can continue to grow with you guys and you join our tribe and our community and our
Yeah.
village.
The Rooted Tribe. I
Yes,
like the sound of that.
it's a tribe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So thank you, Rooted Tribe, for hanging with us. And until the next one, see you later.
Don't forget to like, don't forget to share and subscribe. Until next time.